Main event mama's bringing the heat. Talking life, love, and the wrestling beat.
Hi, I'm Tanisha,
I'm Kiara.
And I'm Kevlin.
and you're now entering the sister chat. Welcome to Main Event Mamas. Whoop.
We are here. We're back. Can you believe it's been 52 episodes?
Excuse me.
Yes.
It has been how many? We've done so
Wow.
many. Wow. That's crazy.
52. I think that's how you say it.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm a little
52. That's
That's right.
ridiculous.
Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're back for another healthy life episode. Some adulting, some parenting. We're going to get into some things. We're definitely going to be talking about how to balance parenting roles as partners. I'm going to let y'all noodle on that temporarily. And then we're also going to talk about adulting, and that's a little bit more serious. We're going to talk about mastering financials, being a little bit more financially literate. As the year winds down, many of us may discover that we were maybe not the best stewards of our funds.
Not Stuart.
Not calling anyone out, just saying. And so we want to invite Kevlin, our resident financial expert, to help us
She's like,
make
what?
some
Why? What?
pertinent and necessary changes.
She's like, what? Who said that? Wait a minute.
I did. You did. We all did. So that's how we ended up here.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Now, I do have a
So with
question.
that,
I have a question, though.
okay. What's your question?
You introduce yourself as Kiara, but on the screen, it just says your Main Event Mama's podcast. So I'm just confused. Thank
I
you.
don't know what happened. I haven't updated it. You feel good about it?
I do, because it also is covering your beautiful face. So I just was like, we can't
Thank you.
see.
Thank you. I
Thank.
don't know what's happening here. But anyway,
Okay.
with that, this is your reminder to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our episodes. We like to go live whenever, but the only way you're going to find out is if you're subscribed. So you follow us on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or Tickety Talk or X or Threads or our website, because sometimes you never know. I could embed the stream there. I haven't figured that one out yet, but it's coming because we don't want you to miss out, whether we're on Tickety Talk or Facebook or our favorite X. Kind of hang. And with that, I think let's start with an area most of us are still kind of figuring out, right? It's parenting.
Her and the pinfall, who's got the win, yo?
Now, we all know it takes at least two of us to make a child, but the balance of power is a little difficult to figure out. So, we want to kind of look at opportunities to see how we can work together as a partnership and not just divide and conquer. So, whether you're with your partner or not, it's definitely a challenge, I think. What do you ladies?
Yeah. What you just said is all. Sometimes you just want to go, but you can't. So it's always it's a beautiful thing when you can learn how to effectively be able to coexist, regardless of if you're together or not together. So that's how I feel.
I think so.
I think it's definitely a challenge. I think one of the biggest things is determining how to do it together in terms of how, because you might have grown up differently. You might have had different parenting situations. You might have, you know, um, not done everything the way the other person considers to be right. And so that just finding the balance and trying to incorporate their ideas, your ideas, and understanding that they are your children together. And you have to collectively, raise them together, hopefully. So it's a whole lot of balance involved.
That's a lot of wisdom. Um, you are right in that you are often raised very differently because, In real
Yes.
conversations, we don't want you to be related. Like we want you to have been separately separately reared. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean,
no
we're not.
judgment if that's
I'm
your
about to say
story,
no
but
judgment, but there is a little bit, but no judgment because we all was raised
no
differently.
judgment. This is
But
a safe space.
don't want you to feel like we're singling anyone out in
We're not
particular.
singling anyone out. The point is, you're what I was trying to say is that often that's one of the biggest things I hear is that I would handle this way because this is how my parents handled it. And you're like,
Mhm.
well, my parents handled it this way and it sucks. So that if that was the same one you were thinking, so we're not doing it. So there's definitely
Right.
a lot of give and take because of your backgrounds and your histories and sometimes your traumas as you grow up and try to figure kind of all that out. So when you talk about balance in parenting, tell me what that means to you typically.
Um, you can go first because
Okay. I consider balance to be both parties having a chance to be involved in the parenting. Um, and what I mean by that is you want to be a team. I feel like if you're not a team, then how can you balance?
mm,
Um, and a lot of times I think that's what a lot of us struggle with is the power struggle of who's right, who's wrong in terms of their idea of how parenting should go.
Hmm.
But I think that in order to have balance, you both have to have a say so in what happens with that child.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. What were you going to say, Tanisha?
I mean, definitely, I would agree that um you, you need to be an active participant to be able to um
Yes.
coexist, right? You need to be an active participant. And if you're not an active participant, then there cannot be any balance because it's always going to be someone going to either be in their feelings or a power struggle. And it shouldn't be a power struggle. It should just be something that is just we talk about. Now, granted, I would say this as well. They always say before you have a child with somebody, you should talk about all these different backgrounds. However, I feel like you can still have these conversations. And then once you have the kid, it could go completely out the window because now it's like, well, I don't know if I really want to do that anymore either. So it's a constant, the biggest thing is communication. So it's going to be a constant a constant communication. So then you guys can constantly keep making sure that you're on the same team. Because all it takes is for one thing to throw everything else off. And then it takes so much to get you back on the same track. Right. Um, and can be different factors that come into it that can throw you off track. So I mean communication is definitely something that's truly important.
I mean, I absolutely agree with both of you. I think the team dynamic, I feel like you can still be on the same team and not love each other in the sense of like maybe there's conflict, maybe there's drama, maybe there's history, there's he said, she said, we said, they said, whoever said. And it's hard sometimes I've heard and I've seen people to get on that same page when they're longer together. I've seen the same thing when they are together, to be fair. Because I know my husband and I struggled with that a little bit at the beginning until it was just like, listen, we need to be united in our approach because they will try to turn you against each other. So it's really important for you to at least have a baseline of things that you are going to um, handle a specific way, right? Like if this happens, you'll tell me. If this happens with me, I'll tell you. And I think that is one of the things I had to learn was to make sure that in order to maintain balance, the same things that I'm giving you, I need to receive back. So if I give you a report about the day and what happened and who did what and where this kid is, and I keep you, in the know about who's going to the doctor and who's going to the dance and all the things, then I expect that same thing back. You need to still be listening. Like I was like, you need to put your listening ears on and hear the same thing because I'm going to ask you those questions when I come home. The questions will be like, okay, so what they do for homework? Did they finish it? I was like, you got to start getting the habit of giving a report, which was not necessarily my husband's style. He was like, they're fine. Okay, let's try that. Run that back. I was like, here are the 7 questions I need answered every single day. Because if I'm not able to do it, what I expect in balance is for you to be able to keep me in the same no. So I don't have to run behind and be like,
Mm-hmm.
so you told your father you completed your homework,
But where is it?
but your teacher sent me an email, a very strongly worded email that said you were because you have completed no work. But that isn't a disconnect with the home front and the united front that you kind of need to put together. So I think, like you said, both those things are really important. So how do we avoid the pitfalls of like one-sided parenting dynamic? I know one of the things we just mentioned was kind of communication and making sure a united front. But like, what are some actual tactical things that you can do to try to make sure that both parents, or in some cases, double the parents, as you know, people's significant others come in and help raise kids and stuff. How do you make sure everybody's on the same page and that you're both parenting together?
Um,
I know that's a hard
I'm about to
question.
say that's a hard question because sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I don't have an answer to that one because I mean I feel like I have strive. Like I was the one who always kept somebody in the know. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is what they doing. Oh, they not doing this. Oh, they did it. Like giving the whole rundown. And then when they would go over there, I'm like, all right, so they got homework they gotta do. They gotta finish. Then it'd be like, well, did they finish when before they came? Oh no. So you get to be fun. Well, I'm the one who'd be like, nah, you need to be doing this. So it didn't matter. Like it may only work maybe once or twice, and then it'll go right back to whatever it was before that. So if it was me in the ideal world, and what I would hope it would be just like what we're saying, like you need to like it's almost like I'm giving you a report, so now you give me the report back. So you pretty much tell me, okay, so while they were here, they did this, they did that, over here, they happened over here. Like I need to be able to know I can tag you in. If I can't tag you in, then why am I giving you the reports? Because what are you really going to do with this information other than know the information? And then I don't get nothing in return. As in, I don't get no information, or like, let's say I can't. I feel like I feel like I may be going off topic, but I feel like if we are communicating and I'm giving you reports and doing that stuff, and I can tag you in, so that means if it's the parent teacher conference, if I can't come, you should be able to go and you should be able to tell me all
Hmm.
the things that the teacher said. And it should show in that, because I feel like that's another way how it shows that you have a united front, because now nothing can get past no one.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So I think I just went off topic because I don't remember what the question was exactly. But I'm going to stop here. Because I think I'm about to go to a whole nother question that you're probably about to ask.
No, I think that was, you covered a lot of stuff. Like, again, emphasizing being on the same page. Yeah, and making sure you can tag that other person in. So you're wanting someone to have that same respect of giving you the same information, the same reporting, to be just as engaged as you are. So I think those are all important for creating a two-sided or four-sided, relationship with the kids, so that everybody is aware of what's going on, everybody's in the loop, and everyone can work together.
Also to include, because you said something about significant others, so that would include the significant others too. So if each person has a partner and that they're coexisting, right? Not living together, but I mean, like if y'all are like really, because I get so jealous of these people who are really blended, like they're so blended, like the stepmom or the girlfriend or whatever, they be like really like in through with the baby mama, the ex-wife, the whatever, and I can call on you, I can tag you in, hey, can you help me since he can't do it right now because he at work, blah, 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 blah. Same thing for uh the husband, the ex-husband, the baby father, the boyfriend, everybody just be able to say, this is the game plan. This is what's been going on. This is what's been happening over here. This is what's been happening over here. How can we work together? There you go. That was my question. So Kevin, you can go. Sorry. It just popped in my head.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say, honestly, that's like the ideal situation is for it to be like that. Obviously, it's not always that way. Honestly, I think it just takes maturity on everybody's part, to be able to understand that it's not about me, it's not about you, but basically, calls for all parties to be mature, right? It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about this child that we created that we're trying to rear to be the best version of themselves that they can be. And ultimately, that's the most important goal. So I feel like if you can do your best and your partner, ex-partner, whoever can do their best to understand that concept, then I feel like we should be able to communicate. We should be able
Mhm.
to team up. We tag the other person in. If I can't do it, you do it. We're not raising one, I'm raising them by myself and you just come in when you want to. No, it should be a team effort. But I think honestly, it takes maturity to get to that point for a lot of people.
Mm.
And it comes with having to let whatever may have happened between y'all if y'all not together, you gotta let the bygones be bygones. This ain't about us no more. You know what I mean? I know I harping a little bit, but forgive each other. Whatever the case, whatever you got to do to be able to raise these kids together, you're going to have to deal with each other for the next forever anyway, 18 plus years. It ain't 18, it's more than that.
It's more than
Don't let
that.
nobody lie to you.
There's never.
Um,
That's just when you
You
start
gotta be
paying child
mindful.
support.
You gotta
right,
be
right, right,
mindful
right.
of who you have children with, 'cause it's
Forever.
gonna be
It's
You really
forever.
dealing with each other forever.
Every function, every thing that your kid wants both of y'all at. Yeah.
It's true. It's
you're
true.
after
And
it.
honestly, it's like, I don't want to be in a situation where my child resents me because I was so mad at the other person for so long that I didn't raise them right, or we couldn't come to an agreement, or we couldn't team up and work together and raise them. And if you are together and you're married and, communication's not the best or whatever, you got to come together and you got to sit down with that child a lot of the time. Like, listen, you can't put mommy against daddy. You can't put daddy against mommy. We're a united front, like you were saying, Kai. And you have to stay that united front in front of them. Because if you don't, they gonna play the game
And they're
all
gonna
day,
win,
every day.
by the way. They will win.
And they're gonna win. And they're gonna win. And a lot of times it's gonna cause a lot of riff-raff between you as a couple. So that's my take.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think you nailed where I was gonna go. I was like, you really have to be on the same page in the sense of like, you gotta come together from the perspective of like, yep, we both made some choices and we are no longer a couple. But the most important thing is the future of our child or children, and providing the best experience for them as they navigate this world. You need guides, and you don't need to make your guides people who are against each other. That will just cause way more chaos and difficulty than what you would even want to see ever. So I think you nailed it. I mean, I didn't. You both nailed it from my point of view. But it also got me thinking about some of the challenges parents can have when they're trying to parent together. How do you think differing styles or parenting approaches impact that balance?
I mean, it impacts it greatly. I mean, to be able to try to be on the same page when you have difference of rearing is hard. And because it's never going to be. So let's say I'm one who don't like to hit unless it's necessary. Like it's like
You like
extreme.
spank.
Right, spank. What's that? Corporal punishment? That's the politically correct word? Um, let's say, but out of like, unless it's like something extreme, then I'll use it. But then you have the other parent, and this is just hypothetical, so I'm not saying this is what's happening. But if you have the other parent who's like, "Nah, I'm quick," pop, pop, and you'd be like, "Did you?" Well, now we're teaching them that it's okay for them to hit somebody if they don't get what they want, right? Like not using all the other skills to come into play. So that comes in a process, right? So if you don't agree on that, it's always going to be y'all going to be button heads, or you're always going to be seen like are the one who is coming to rescue somebody from the big bad parent, when in essence they're just trying to discipline their kid the way that they think is necessary, and y'all never came to the same conclusion. That's just an example of what you have.
Yeah, or the same plan about how you
Right.
want to handle.
Right.
Yeah,
Or even punishment, like let's say grounding, right? I may ground a kid. You may be like, let's still watch TV, and then we'll turn the TV off when your mom comes or your dad comes, and be like, what are we really teaching our kid? Are we teaching our kid to sneak around and not like respect me as a parent,
That's right.
as a partner, right? Or and we've seen that. There's people out here that they don't get respected as a parent. Meanwhile, they may do everything, but all it takes is that one other parent to be like, I don't respect you. They ain't gonna respect you. And now we're gonna have a whole bunch of chaos. And you can never function that way, truthfully.
I agree. I agree with you. I definitely think the way I look at it is pretty similarly. I think about, again, like when I had my kids, we were pretty young, right? But we
Yeah.
had completely different growing up backgrounds and expectations. And as we've had to raise these children, there's lots of times where the balance gets thrown off because maybe you don't know anything about school. So you don't want to be involved in any of the school shenanigans. Well, unfortunately, there's about a good 12 years of back and forth to the school and beyond, right? Like talking to parents, teacher conferences, and extracurricular activities. If your partner is someone who wants nothing to do with that, it can definitely make the balance feel like very overloaded. Like, okay, I'm the parent who has to go to all the things. And what does that tell my kid about their other parent, right? What does
Mm-hmm.
it give them a sense of like, well, this parent doesn't care, or you don't know what that's conveying to them in the long run. So I definitely see that can impact the balance in a lot of ways. And I also think, like you mentioned, when it comes to like discipline and behavior and things you got to narrow those things down. Now, like you said, it's great to do that at the beginning, right? It's great. But I know as a parent, sometimes there's some stuff you don't run into till you see it and you experience it, and then you're stuck with what are we supposed to do about this? And I just think it's helpful to have a partner, whether again that's your father of the child or just a partner for you, or and then again expanding to their relationship and significant others and whatever, to be able to have these conversations as a group. Like, all right, listen, this kid did this. We need to get into one accord for how we're going to handle it. And I think those conversations help you navigate it in the sense of like severity. You can go, okay, this is level one. Level one, I don't accept spanking. You know what I mean? Like, you can be like, I don't accept that. I think that's a conversation. Now, me as the other parent, I might be like, nah, this is my kid. They ain't going to hear nothing you just said. So that's not going to. So I rebuttal your your suggestion for a conversation. Like, I feel like you need to have these detailed conversations. And one of the ways you can do these kind of things is coming up with a plan, which we'll definitely get into later. But I definitely think your background can certainly impact that sense of balance, especially if you grew up with those kind of stereotypes where your mom was home and your dad was working, or if you don't grow up with a father in your house and your mother was the everything. That can give you unreal expectations of your partner or yourself.
That's a word.
Because yeah, I really felt like that came out as, ooh, that was a
That
deep thought.
that
Like,
that was
serious.
that
Because
was a word.
I think like my mom was kind of always. We were actually, funny enough, I'll tell you a quick story. My mom, we were talking about this week about how I learned my work ethic from my mother. Like, my mother never sat on the couch and was like, I can't do it. Like, that was just not a thing. There was never a space that I can remember in which she just sat down and was like, I give. She was just like, I'm working here. I got this job. I'm going here. I'm going here. I got two jobs. I got two jobs over here. I'm gonna make sure you get what you need, but not extra. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to work for that extra. Just wanted to be clear about that, but I'm gonna make sure you have what you need. But it also taught me the sense of like, you can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And gave me a sense of like, I can handle things that proportionally probably don't make sense because my mom was the only one in the house at the time. Whereas I have my husband here. So why am I parenting like a single mother when my partner's here? But again, it was my background that gave me that sense of like, this is what I learned and this is what I'm doing. But I had to reframe like my mind because he is their father. He's also my husband. But how do I make sure I include him? And that required an entirely different shift at how I started to look at things, and even things that I still work on to this day. of like, listen, we're splitting the cooking. Who's doing what where? We're splitting the cleaning. We're splitting the washing. I don't wash everybody's clothes. Everybody wash their own clothes. Like, it's just, how do we split this up so that there is a balance and that everyone feels like they can contribute, especially from a partner perspective? I think. Hey, Kevin, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you guys nailed it, honestly. I was just gonna say, just obviously backgrounds play a role, but making sure that everybody has a contribution to the house. That's actually what I was gonna say in terms of um making sure that everything doesn't fall on just one person.
That.
Um, because it can. I mean, and I know it's hard, and not everybody has a dynamic where they have a partner that
Right.
is there or what have you. But if you do, have that, just making sure that you all share the load.
That's a word too, because I felt that in my spirit. Because me
Target.
trying to let everyone else do everything, I don't know. I don't know.
Enough, enough talking.
Because I just felt like that was just in my spirit. And of course, my partner has been trying his hardest to make sure I start delegating and making them responsible. It's a challenge, though. It's a challenge because I'm just so used to doing it all. But then at the same time, because I'm so used to doing it all, then nothing gets done because then I'm overwhelmed and I'm like, peace out to the Mother East. I make this mess. I don't feel like cleaning it. So
Well, honey,
I get, but I'm saying, her saying that made me like, yeah, yeah, that just seeped in because I'm just like, I don't know. But
but it's funny that you said that because I'm going to dive into this. So hold that thought because I think
okay,
you're going to have something to add to this next
okay,
thing. So
okay,
I was going to say, because you nailed, like, we're heading there anyway, naturally.
okay.
So we were talking about dividing parenting responsibilities, right?
Mhm.
Fairly. But there might be other life duties like jobs or schedules or our podcasts, for instance, that get in the way. How can you divide equally that way when you have to add another layer beyond just kind of your day-to-day situation? So I'm wondering, like, how you might manage adding, jobs like night schedules, day schedules, and things like that to the mix.
I don't manage it well at all. I don't manage it well at all. It's not funny, but I mean, it's the truth. I don't manage it well at all. I suck at time management. I suck at delegating. I suck at staying as strong as possible. Granted, I say that as now that I don't know if it's because I'm older or because they're older. And I just like, fine, whatever, go over there, leave me alone. I felt like I was more stricter. I was more, not, that's not even a word. I was more strict when they were younger, and even me being more disciplined in doing certain things, right? I think time management still was a little sketchy, but now that I'm just in this different weird phase of trying to figure it out because I want to be better, I want to do better for them, I want everything like that. You have to really look at yourself to understand it. I feel like this, I know I came up with this topic, but I expect to be like this. um, but
Did you read the outline?
I did, but like see, the problem is I skim over it just to make sure nothing crazy is on there. I don't always like read it throughout the whole thing. Or if I did, like I do remember reading it this morning, but I was also half awake and half asleep. So I remember questions, just don't remember the questions. But it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I still didn't expect, even from the questions, that I would be having a self-reflection right now. Okay?
Well, look at God. But also, if you're feeling like me out there, where you do the work and your sister tells you, I just skimmed over it. I really didn't know we were going any of these places. You just go ahead and drop me a line because I cannot be the only one out here. Like, are you serious? Like, is my work truly appreciated?
It
I mean,
is.
I do think it is. I do think they do, but I just want to put this out there in case you're out here
Not
listening.
not Kevlin
More
doing the slow eyeglasses. Let me put them slowly back.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Anyway, but I did want to go back to what you said because before you said that last part there.
Sorry, my bad.
Where we talk about you suck, you suck, you suck. I want to stop there because I think what's important is to, instead of just giving yourself this negative talk of like, I suck, I suck, I suck, I think it's really important to acknowledge it as an opportunity to grow, right? So, like I said, daytime, nighttime schedules. So, how did I end up? Okay, I told you we work through, you know, splitting things. Well, guess what? New job comes along, and now it throws all of our splitting into chaos, right? So instead of me cooking 3 days a week, not 7 days a week, I'm doing dishes. You in the washing machine when I'm trying to get in the washing machine. It's just nothing is working. Now instead of me telling my husband, you suck at the schedule, I had to say, listen, can we develop a new schedule that he still, by the way, does not follow? But can we develop a new schedule so that we can still accomplish the same things? Because what I want to emphasize there is that you're thinking about this. So you're wanting to get better. You're acknowledging it as a shortfall. But I don't think you stop at the I suck. I think you need to go from I suck to like, what are the few things? And we'll get into this actually, some actionable takeaways very soon in the next section, where you can make these baby steps to get you somewhere so that you're not just stuck at a stage of I suck or anything like that, because it's a balance, and it's parenting is not easy. Okay. There's some days where I'm like, F it, you're not gonna see me for 24 hours because I'm tired. And there's some days where I'm in their face every minute. Did you do this? Like, you just every day is something different. And so I don't want you to feel like I suck, because frankly, we all are giving, if you're long as you're giving your best every day, well, the chips fall where they may. I did what I could. We're not superhumans. We are just mortals here trying to make the best decisions. So I want to make sure we emphasize that as well. Give yourself some grace, man. That's all I'm saying. Jeez.
That's the problem.
I
That's all I
agree.
do is give myself
Grace
some
is
damn
important.
grace. I give myself too much fucking grace. Okay? It's too much. Sorry, I know I cussed a little bit, but it's too much. That's the problem. I have to stay structured. I need structure. Structure.
Or
And I think, and you wanna know what? I also feel like with me not working, with me losing my my job, my structure went out the window, and I have just been like la 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 even more than I was before. Like, I'm supposed to have dinner done. Dinner's not even done yet. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Kevlin?
Okay. Oh, well,
I don't know how we got here.
I feel like this is, I'm going to talk to you about something offline
Cool.
in a good way. Yeah, in a good way.
Cool.
But just, to kind of help out, hopefully, in that area.
No, let everybody
but
else know I'm okay. It's okay. I'm an open book. They know a lot.
no. I just wanted, if you know those things though, and you know that you struggle in those areas, what steps are you taking to amend that to get better?
I mean, I have tried. I'm still a work in progress. I need to stay consistent so I can start. I can do it all. I can probably do a week of consistency. No, it takes us for one thing for me to throw everything else off, and then I go right back to what it was, versus just trying to put myself back on.
Okay. What I was going to say, in terms of the original question was, I think it's important, especially when your kids are old enough, for everybody to have responsibility and for it not to fall on just one parent or the other parent or just the parents. I think that they should have some role in trying to, like, chores. This is what you're going to do this week. This is what you're going to do this week. This is what you're going to do this week. We're all going to help out. We all live here. We're all going to make sure that, everybody does their part so that it doesn't get overwhelming, or at least not as overwhelming as it would be if it was just on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you were saying earlier about, and this is not pointing to you, this was what I was going to say anyway. But I was just saying, like, maybe that's something that you should maybe consider, is those that are old enough to give them some responsibility so that it doesn't all fall on you and you don't get so overwhelmed, as just a suggestion.
And hold them accountable for those responsibilities.
That's it, because they all have. If they come in here, they'll tell you what they're supposed to be doing. They all have that.
Yeah, I know that. That's why I know. I was like, they do, because I
They all
literally had this conversation.
they all have it. So they know what they're supposed to do. It's just I don't stay consistent with what the punishment is if they don't do it.
So let me tell you, I'm going to tell you some advice my mom gave me this week.
Okay.
Crazy,
Well,
crazy.
oh,
Because if you listen to our mom episode, you're going to be like, what? Anyway, so listen. So we were having the same conversation, if you will. That I was like, I'm so soft when it comes to my kids, unless they piss me off. And then all bets are off. But most of the time, they follow instructions. They do what they're supposed to do. They do have chores. They do them. But admittedly, when I got swept up in a couple jobs ago where I was working 17, 18 hours, I don't think I even paid attention to the house unless I knew someone was coming. And then I was like, time to sweep it all up and clean it all up, whatever. And so I was talking to my mom kind of about this week. And I was just like, it's frustrating because she was explaining how she came to visit and she had to teach them how to clean the bathroom. I was like, they know how to clean the bathroom. And she's like, I also had to teach them how to clean the kitchen. I was like, not only do they know, they've had detailed demonstrations, days of demonstrations, repeated demonstrations. She goes, then why you let it slide?
mm,
And I just looked at her. She goes, why you ain't just send them back in there? She's like, I did that to y'all. Pretty soon y'all ain't come back out with it half done. And I was like, yeah, I was scared. So I just went and got it done. But it actually like it hit me when she said it. Because normally grandmas be like, you just need to ease up on the kid. She was like, absolutely not. Send them back in there. I don't care what time it is. I'll have to wake you up if you did it right.
listen, I remember getting like, you didn't wash the dishes, get up. I'm like crying, wash the dishes with my. And I even told the oldest, I was like, I should have woke you up last night because you didn't wash my dishes. So take this as a warning, because next time I'm gonna wake you up to
That's
go
the
wash my
problem.
dishes.
This our generation would be giving warnings. I don't remember no warning shots. I remember if you don't get out of this bed, don't make me come back in here. So
And my
That's
kids
that.
don't want to go out. My kids don't go outside now. They used to like to go outside. Now my kids are like, I don't go outside. Unless two. There's two that do. The other two are like, yeah. So I
not
can't
going
even use,
outside.
I can't even use that as an excuse. Like if you want to go outside, make sure your chores are done.
Yeah, if you want access. So I did see this interesting meme, and I'll get back to these are some practical takeaways actually pretty soon. But I was looking at this thing online, and it was talking how this lady, she used to change her Wi-Fi password every day,
Ooh,
and she
they had to
would,
earn it.
they had to earn it for the day. And I was like, how do I?
Well, first off, that's a lot because then
But
I
now,
got
but
then
there's
I
a
got to
bit of a,
remember what the password is.
yeah, but she knew it. Every day she knew it. She had it, and she would like turn it off until their chores were done. And or actually no, she didn't turn it off. She would just give it to them. So I was like, practicality wise, logistically, that would be a nightmare because I'm not changing my Wi-Fi password every day. But if I could turn the Wi-Fi off,
Yes, if I can turn it off and on, or
the
turn it off on
problem,
y'all and then put it back.
right, right. So I was like, I should have gave them access to the like secondary guest network.
Ooh,
Because
that's
technically most of them have guest networks too. So I was like, I was debating trying to figure this out because I was like, how can I get to these kids? Because again, like you said, my kids don't care about going outside. Trying to get their motivation and trying to parent the right way, you're kind of like, how do I get something that means something to them without like overdoing it? Like you ain't trying to commit no kind of crimes. You just want them to know like there's limits and you got to do things. But I was like, I'm gonna have to figure out something because we so soft. I mean, I think we're just so
and
soft. We're
listen,
so
we used
worried
to love
about
going.
messing up our kids. I feel
That's true,
that's a
and
whole
I
nother.
think, and the whole thing is we love going outside. So it was like you have to beg us to do nothing.
No,
But also
I mean,
we used to get our ass beat too. So I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm not
you
doing.
know, I'm just saying. I still remember that.
But
That
hold on, correction. I used to get my ass beat.
yeah, my mom did too. I remember getting something thrown at me. The window scraper, with the ice. I remember that getting thrown at me. I was real lucky that it hit my head. Granted, I think I deserved it. I said something underneath my breath I probably shouldn't have said, but
I ain't gonna
you
lie,
know,
because back then they had like metal on them, so that's a good thing it did
it
not
was
hit your
metal,
head.
and I'm pretty sure like I deserved it. I don't know what I said that made I was so mad at her for it, but yeah. Knowing how old I am now, I definitely deserved it. but it also didn't hit me because I learned how to duck. Also, an important skill out there. I wish we all learned some ducking skills because some of y'all just be out here. It's coming your way. You staring at it. That's not the move. Anyway, let's talk about some actionable things. I want to give 3 practical strategies or habits parents can adopt to work better together. So one of the things I mentioned initially was just creating a plan, a parenting plan. Like these are the things that we know are going to be like hard passes, and what are the consequences of these things. Now I know it requires you to do work, like to kind of hold on to it, and AI can help you. Just talk to it. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely think that is one thing that we can use nowadays is to make sure you have that united parenting plan. Something you both can, or both sets of parents can kind of bless and be like, yeah, we can follow this. Because also there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens that is not in that book. So you might want to at least have a basis, a
New game,
foundation for where you want to go.
new challenges unlocked at every age. I don't even.
It is. But what are some other strategies or habits you think parents can adopt to work better together?
Consistency. Take it from me, consistency.
Not just that, Denise.
But okay, I'm sorry. All right,
The
not just that.
consistency. No, when you say that, I'm like, maybe creating a calendar for yourself about days that you were on track. So you can actually
Oh.
see like tangible differences. Like I've seen some charts where it's like, I did my, gold star, I did my duties, my house is clean, blah, 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 blah. I went to bed on time. Like things that you can be like, because I did this, this was possible. Meaning maybe I got 8 hours of sleep because y'all did what y'all was supposed to do.
I feel like that will never happen. Me getting 8 hours sleep is never gonna happen. That has nothing to do with them. That's just me in general. But I hear what you're saying.
That's half the problem.
Hold on, I gotta tell Alexa to be quiet.
I think one of the things is just having open communication between the parents and making sure to set time to talk to each other about the kids. Whether that be daily, weekly, whatever it is that works for your schedule or however, you and your partner handle it. But actually having that open communication and just being honest about what's happening and how you can best handle it together.
Damn. Sneesha, you got some mad?
No.
No. Well, I just want to thank you both for being honest and talking about some of these amazing tips. I definitely hope it helps people. We know that parenting requires teamwork, or in our case, a village to raise all of our children as we go through, like you said, new challenges unlocked and while y'all stay on speed dial. But just like any other aspects of life, I think it's important to have a strategy, which is why I want to move on to finances a little bit.
Adulting talk, yeah, it's a thing. Over 18, what will life bring? Adulting talk.
Let's be real here. We've had this conversation quite a few times. We're not exactly always the most financially responsible citizens. And that can manifest in many ways, such as, credit card balances or needing to make some different choices and having to work more to pay for things that we did not need to buy, things like that. So
Oh, speed fast that real fast.
just saying. I mean, I will readily admit I like to shop, but I try not to go too crazy. But it can happen. That's my stress release. That's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, the point is, I think it's important to try to consider ways that you can be actionable and, like we talked about, take some steps to take accountability and make some changes. So we want to welcome Kevlin, our expert, to the show. Well, to give you some background on why we're calling Kevlin our expert, it's because she helped many people get into homes, which involves some financial steps, as we may know, to get there. So we wanted to just invite our sister Kevlin to share some of these tips that hopefully can help not only us, but our listeners make some better life choices so that we can go into 2026 with a better mindset and action. So first I want
Woohoo!
to ask Evelyn, why do you think financial literacy matters?
Well, I think it's something honestly that is vital to adulthood and the success of not living in poverty forever.
Mm.
Um, I mean, if you don't take into account your finances, I think it makes for a world of pain for you and your family that you may not have to go through. If you just have some actionable steps and just a foundation, honestly, to even know what any of this stuff even means. You can pass it on to your kids. So hopefully they have some, foundational pieces to build their life on. But ultimately, it's just to have a better livelihood so that you don't have to work until you're, 70, 80, 90 years old and you can actually have retirement one day. Um, so I just think that is something that, especially us, people of color, that we may not even get taught ever. And ultimately, it results in us having a harder time in life than we need to. So.
Yeah, I definitely think that's um, important. I also kind of want to tag along a little bit to what you said because we did talk about that a little bit. Why this became a topic for the show is because we're not taught this. I found it really strange that there was not a class in school where we went over that. Like I vaguely remember doing like bank accounts when we were like maybe in elementary or middle school or something like that, but certainly not anything when we were older. Granted, I didn't have to take economics, but I don't. If I did take it, I'm pretty sure this was not a part of that.
Yeah, I'm about to say I took economics and it wasn't a part of that. I learned the stock market.
I was gonna say, I think we learned. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we learned the stock market, but personal finance, I think, would be a important class for anyone who goes to a public institution or a private one, because I think, like you said, many of us are not taught this, and therefore we pick up the same habits of our other family members, looking for guidance, but ultimately making a lot of the same mistakes. So, why do you think so many adults struggle to manage their finances?
I think that it's one of those okay, people would rather have fun than being responsible, right? So if
Yeah.
you're looking for something, especially if you've had a stressful day, when you want to unwind, you want to do whatever, you want to splurge. And sometimes you splurge and you don't realize how much you spend until it's over. Then you be looking like, oh, wait, how much? Oh, hold on, me, how my bank account set up. I gotta move some things from my savings over here because I wasn't expecting to spend that much money. Hold on. And you spend it, and then either you regret it after and be like, or you don't regret it, but then now you're struggling to do just the bare necessities that you need to may do because now you just got finished spending all your money on something that was recreational or something that made you feel good and not. I think we were never really truly taught to make sure our bills were paid first. Like we may have watched our parents, but we also watching our parents, like if we had to talk about dad, right? You know, mm, I don't think he made the right choices sometimes, most of the time. But,
I
it
don't
was,
remember.
well, I'm not going to say the bills probably weren't never paid because I think they were. But you can tell money management, there you go, the word money management was not there,
Mhm.
like to properly manage your money. So I think that's something definitely as a community we all struggle with. Because if we're looking at commercials, if we're looking at lifestyles, because sometimes people are also taught to keep up with the Joneses. So if the Joneses over here just got a a brand new car, and you still over here in hoopty, well, wait a minute, we need to get that. Or like I remember with my niece, she's like, Auntie, you don't understand. I was like, girl, you do not need a Blueberry or whatever jacket. What do you need that for? Just get a regular coat. No, 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 because, people are gonna make fun of me because I don't have it. Or even like with me, when I was in high school, my mom shopped at Payless. I had Payless sneakers and
As did I.
Kmart and all the other things. And my older brother would be like, I'm gonna go get you some Timbs. I'll give you some Nike. I'll give you some Uptowns because I don't want people making fun of you. So I think when it comes to those type of things, we always want to find something that's gonna make us look good, feel good, smell good, or whatever, and not think about the bigger scheme of making sure we have all our things that needs to get done in line first, and that could be an issue. I feel like I'm about to go over there, so I'm gonna stop.
All right, Kevlin.
I believe that a lot of people don't understand the importance of finances and how they are going to affect you later on in life. A lot of the time, because we're not taught, we do like gratification, instant gratification versus um, long term financial freedom or long term financial success. A lot of us don't even know what that even looks like or how to get there. Um, and so I think that's a lot of the reason why um, adults don't take their finances seriously, which hopefully changes.
I agree.
Which hopefully changes because otherwise, I mean, you're setting yourself up for failure ultimately.
Yep. Thank you, Kevlin and Tanisha. Those were both excellent points. But I also want to dive in a little bit on something else. So, what are some key concepts people should understand to start their financial literacy journey? Because I think sometimes for many of us, it probably feels like too much, right? Like it feels overwhelming to try to figure it out, especially if you made a mess of things, right? But I know there are tools to help you start over. But what do you think would be the first thing people need to understand?
Budgeting
We're gonna get into
proper,
that.
properly budgeting.
That, in fact,
Because
was our next question. So let's
oh
dive into that now.
okay.
So, can you explain the importance of budgeting and saving for someone who's never done it before?
Well, budgeting helps you see what you have, what you can spend, and what you can't spend. And I think the savings part is for the things you can't spend. So saving, like for me, like if I use the savings, I use my savings for me to put away for rent, right? I feel like that's my number one bill I need to make sure is always paid, rent. So I will put a certain amount aside and it goes in my savings account that's supposed to be for rent. Now, what could also be where your savings account is where your bills are. So then you are budgeting, you write down what your cost is, your cost of living, right? You write all that stuff down to be able to see what you do on a daily basis. Cause I mean, cost of living could be daily. So in the morning, you are someone who likes to have a cup of coffee from somewhere. How much is that cup of coffee compared to
Depends on
if
whether you go to Starbucks or not.
right,
Uber.
but I'm saying, but that's important to know, right? So let's say you are a Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts junkie, and you have to get your breakfast or your coffee from these places. You're spending this amount of money every day, so that's of your cost of living, right? So then, once you start breaking down your cost of living, then you should be able to see how much you spend out of your paycheck. And if it's sometimes it could be a little bit more than your paycheck, and you be trying to figure out how you actually did it. But that's because you're not properly saving or putting things aside either. That's what I would suggest initially.
I agree with you on a lot of points, but I also want to acknowledge that technically we're supposed to be living underneath our means, right? And I don't think that is ever fully explained to you, right? Like I imagine I was trying to remember my first job, and if anyone told me to save like 30%, and I feel like they might have, and maybe I didn't listen, or it wasn't emphasized, or it definitely was something that never even um, materialized into something as a real plan. And as I think about this as an adult now, I'm like, man, how going backwards and trying to live at only 70% of your income can be extremely difficult once you've overextended yourself. And sometimes I find even when you get a job that is significantly more, everything else costs more too. And so it just feels like such a struggle. But I think if it was a lesson that we had learned, or I in particular had learned, to value and the importance of it, for instance, like taking that money away every time you got paid, then at the end of the summer, be able to give you, your bank account with your money, especially like as we went to college and stuff like that, that would have been a tremendous help, right? But that
Hmm.
was never something that or me in particular, I can't say we, but I think probably for all of us, didn't get a chance to experience. Like, not at all. But that's the other thing. Like, no one explained that you're actually not supposed to be living paycheck to paycheck. That's what I think. So I agree with budgeting, but I also think like the one of the concepts, to go back to the initial question, was understanding that your income should not equal everything you live off of.
Mm.
Evelyn, what do you think?
I agree with that statement. I also think that another point to kind of discuss are credit cards.
Oh,
Mm.
girl.
Um,
Mm.
Mm.
because what a lot of basically what a lot it happens like you don't have it whether in your paycheck, so then you just charge it, which can become a mountain
Mm.
over time. Um, so I think a
About to
part
hear this
of
mountain. What she
yes.
said. Ooh, the mountain, Jesus, Father God. Oof.
No, seriously, it really can.
Like
And
you literally would put money on there and be like, "Oh, I need that," so I'm swipe.
but I think it's also a discipline thing, right? Because a
Mm.
lot of the times, like, it's one thing when you're using your credit cards for an emergency. Like, you need tires and you just don't have it and you got to get back and forth to work, stuff like that. But a lot of times people use their credit card for things that are not emergencies, like vacations,
Yeah, it's not
stuff
emergency.
like that.
But I just want to let's take it back a little
Actually,
bit.
wait, hold on. Time out. Time out. I feel like a vacation could be an emergency depending on your mental state. Because if you about
I'm
to
not
Okay.
blow a
negating that.
basket, okay? If you about to
I
blow a gasket, okay? And it's either me or you.
I feel like somebody's
And
convicted in in
and
this
I
moment.
Of
don't
it,
want
I
to
wasn't.
be the me of I'm going to politely, oh, how much does that cost? Okay. And book me a flight.
Okay, but take into account, no, seriously, take into account so many people that do that
Yeah,
actually may not be able to cover the cost. They're just
true.
putting it up there, like,
That
with no real intention of even, I'm not saying you or anyone in particular, but a lot of what
I don't
happens with
care.
these credit cards is
Yeah.
they use it and they don't intend to pay it back, or they max it out and then they don't have it for emergencies, or it affects your credit score when you can't pay it back and all of these different things.
but also
It's
it doesn't help when you get a credit card and you do well with this credit card and they just increase your limit and increase your limit and
Like
yeah.
increase your limit.
first off, I ain't asked you to give me more because I'm paying on it. Okay, just leave me alone. I
Don't
like
let
my
me get
little.
to zero and you decide to add double digits. Like first thought, like, and then, what if you hit with back-to-back emergencies? I'm not saying that what you're not saying is extremely important, but I'm also wanted to just show the other side of clearly why we need assistance, because we have no self-control. Because Miss here thinks a vacation is an expense, and I'm over here
Well,
explaining how, at the end of the day, a lot of emergencies can happen.
that's you on the brink of I'm about to lose my brain and I don't know what I'm about to do and I may need to get convicted into a hospital. I mean, I'm just saying, did you pick it? I don't regret my birthday. My birthday was well deserved.
Let me just point out, I wasn't speaking about anyone specifically.
No,
This was just this was
You just say it, but
general
out here,
advice.
yes, I feel as though this is how many of you may feel out here as you're listening to this part. And this is why it's so important to listen to the expert, because we all have thoughts and feelings and we make, you know, temporary emotional feelings, and we make actions that have long-term and long-lasting effect, which is what I believe she was referring to. She was
I
not
know,
convicting
I know.
anyone.
I
And this
wasn't saying that. I wasn't. I listen. I'm not offended. I it's what it is. I also want to add in there, since we add credit cards, we need to add what they have now. Affirm, Kalana, and Afterpay, and all these other people. You know,
I just want to say I am
I mean,
very
they are a
pleased that
blessing.
one time and
Yeah,
paid it
they're
off because I recognize that that is dangerous.
it's very dangerous.
I recognize that that is dangerous, but it was going to be our trip and it was going to be awesome. But anyway, all that to say, there's other things that you're combating besides credit cards, Kevlin. So what do you do when you're faced with other things like the affirms and the Klarnas and the other things? Is it the same principle of just understanding what you can pay for now? Like, what would you recommend in a situation like that? Are you talking about you can use a credit card and consider, like, I think I've heard advice that whatever you charge on your credit card, you have to pay off by the end of the month. Like, what are some things that you think would actionably help us start piecing together um, our finances and ultimately our future, right?
So the goal for your credit cards is to keep it between 10 to 30% utilization. That sounds really hard in today's economy. But that is a way to keep your scores up. But yes, if you have to use your credit card, use it, right? I'm not saying don't. It's emergencies happen, right? But you want to take into account that you don't necessarily have to pay it all off, but you want to make sure that you're at least paying half if you can. Because the whole point behind it is what you don't want to happen is for your utilization to go 50, 60, 70, 80%, and then you can't get it back down. That's the issue. Um, so you want to make sure whatever you're going to put up there, it's really just about the utilization versus the actual amount. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, if I remember, we're supposed to leave it at least. It's supposed to be 30% of the credit that you have, right? At
30%
least.
should be hopefully your max if you can to keep your, credit scores where you want them to be. And I mean, obviously, I get it, and life happens, but that's the goal.
Yeah. Now I want to dive a little bit into, we're going to walk away from this a little bit to talk a little bit more about home ownership, right? Because I think, like we talked about, you've been more of an expert in helping people get their finances in line to look towards home ownership. So I do want to spend a little time chit chatting about that. How does your financial picture play a role in looking at home ownership? I know it's not necessarily everybody's journey, but I know as someone who has always been a bit curious about how that works, I'd love just
Mhm.
kind of a quick thing to go over that.
Yeah. So the goal with your finances obviously is hopefully to one day own something, right? Which obviously owning a home is the biggest purchase you're probably going to make in your lifetime. So the importance there in terms of your finances and the role that it plays is it's honestly it's everything. When a lender is looking at you for a possible loan, they're going to want to see your bank statements. They're going to want to see your credit. They're going to want to see your taxes a lot of the time. So file them. They're going to want to um, see, obviously, you have to have your W-2 income. You have to have your pay stubs. You have to have all of those different things to be able to even qualify for a traditional loan. Um, so in terms of, like, for instance, like for your bank statements, a lot of the times they don't want to see you in the negative. So if you are consistently in the negative, that's a red flag for someone that's trying to buy a home. Also, when it comes to your credit report, they don't want to see a whole bunch of late payments. Obviously, there are some things that you can explain away. There may have been a time that, you may have lost your job for a couple months, got back together and caught up, that type stuff.
Hmm.
But they look at that stuff. They look at late payments. They look at collections. They look at basically your story, your financial story, to see if this is something that you should even embark on, or even if something that obviously the bank is giving you money, so they have to trust that you're going to be able to pay it back.
Right.
Um, so, they look at those things. Um, Also, obviously, scores matter depending on what loan program you want to go with. A lot of the times they have options for like a USDA loan, which is like a 0% down loan, but they have credit requirements and income requirements. So you have to make a certain amount, and then you have to have your credit score at a certain level, depending on, what price point you're looking at. So there's a lot of different things that go and play a factor in um, the home buying process, so to speak. But the first things first is you got to make sure that you can pay your bills on time. Uh, that's number one. Paying your bills on time. And making sure that you know what's on your credit. If you've never
That's
looked at your credit report, that's a good way. That's a good place to start. Pulling your credit report, looking at Equifax, TransUnion, um, and Experian, and making sure that everything on there is actually accurate. You can pull your credit report one time a year for free. So you have that option. And just actually checking to make sure that all of it's accurate. And if it's not, disputing those things before you even try the home buying process and, get disappointed or what have you, because Credit Karma said it was at a 700 and you're really at a 630 or something like that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, because
I was gonna
Credit
mention
Credit
Credit
Karma's
Karma
not
though.
reliable, y'all. Just so y'all know, don't trust Credit Karma, please and thank you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. That was her TED Talk.
I was gonna ask you, so when they are pulling these things, what are they looking for exactly? Like other than seeing that you could pay, but what are they looking for specifically in like your taxes, and what they looking for specifically in like your bank statements and stuff like that? Like what are they looking for that we should be aware of?
so your
If
bank
you want
statements, they're gonna. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm like for the ones who may want to go on this journey, like so they know exactly like what is being looked upon when they do provide these documents.
So a lot of the time, it's your debt to income, right? That they're looking for. So debt to income basically means how much am I obligated to have to pay out a month versus how much I'm actually bringing in.
Mm,
Um, and a lot of the time, they want your debt to income to be below a certain level. At least a lot of the time, it's below like 50%, 60 to 50%, I would say, for a lot of these loan programs. And so what they look at your bank statements is they look to see if you're in the negative every month, they obviously know that your debt to income is not what you're claiming, right?
mhm.
And then also when they look at your credit report, they can see all the debts that you owe. That's why they look based off, and then they look at your W-2 and your taxes to see what you actually make. And then based off those two things, they tell you whether you qualify to even have a mortgage and then how much of a mortgage you qualify to have. Does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, I think that was extremely helpful because home ownership is a lot of people's dream, right? And I think Kevlin has been a great expert on this topic as she helped many people in her role as a realtor
She sure did.
and a tycoon and a
Oh,
broker
thank y'all.
to help people realize that particular dream. But to just kind of come back around, I do want to talk about a couple habits that I've started to do to just start managing my finances better in the long run. Whether you want to buy a home or just be more financially present with your bank account and your choices. Some of the things I've started to do is creating a budget to see exactly where my money goes each month. I think also another thing to consider is automating your savings. That's an easy thing. My husband does it all the time, and I'm like, "Why are you doing this?" But at the same time, I mean, he always has money in his savings, so I can't really say anything about that, can I? Because it actually kind of works out. And sometimes it's the little bit that counts. Maybe that's that $20 you don't want to spend on a Starbucks coffee and a scone. Maybe you just want to move that money over. Or also, I learned to make chai tea lattes at my house with my own kettle and my own frother, and avoid that $8 charge. I still occasionally, you know what I mean, give me a good chai tea latte, but not from Barnes& and Noble because whoever made my last one, it was awful. I had to make another one, just work through what had happened to me. It was hella pricey. But thank you for helping break down financial literacy, Evelyn. I think there was a lot we covered, and I'm sure we'll continue talking about it. But today we learned a lot from the parenting perspective and certainly from financial literacy. We learned about teamwork and communication. We learned about habits that can improve all the things between parenting and working together, whether you're together or not. And then also some really accessible things about how to manage your finances. I want to find out what our audience thinks about this episode. I want to ask you, what worked for you in balancing parenting roles that we did not cover? What are some financial tips you think we need to do? Because obviously we had excuses for days for why we could not listen to the expert. But what would you say to us? We welcome feedback either in our comments or also on our website. This is my opportunity to remind you that you can follow us on YouTube, where you can subscribe. Hit that button right now if you didn't, or anywhere you listen to podcasts, which I'm going to let Tanisha tell you where you can also listen to us.
So you can listen to us on iHeartRadio, on Amazon Music, on Amazon Audible, on Apple Podcasts, on Pocket Podcasts, on Spotify, and YouTube Music. Right? That was
And
everybody.
that was it. You did a great job.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Excellent work. Yes. And then you can also visit our website because, that's where we keep all of our content, right? So you can follow us at maineventmamaspodcast.com, where you can dive into our latest blogs. We got some new surprises coming up this week, some jewels from last week's episode, and where you can find all of our videos in case you're not following us on Instagram or Tickety Talk or X or Facebook or Threads. And I know they can follow us individually, Tanisha. So where can they?
So you can follow me, Tanisha, at Tanisha_MamaPod on TikTok and on Instagram. You can follow Kiara at Kiara MamaPod on Instagram and on Facebook. And then on Twitter, on X, you can follow her at Content Vixen. And Kevlin, you can't follow yet, so don't worry about it. We'll let you know when you can.
We will. I'll keep you updated. I want to thank my
You want to
sister.
follow? You don't want to follow her? You follow Main Event Mamas on Instagram. That's how you follow
That's
her.
right. You want to send her a message? maineventmamas@gmail.com. That's about as close as y'all getting. We appreciate you, though. We want to thank all of y'all for interacting, following, liking, and sharing. I want to thank my sisters for being so open and honest and candid today. Yes, Tanisha?
You forgot something. You didn't talk about Patreon. You
Huh?
can be a part of our Patreon. Our
Yeah,
Patreon.
I haven't gotten there yet. Yes, that was it. We have
Oh.
community.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So we have 2 communities for you to join us. As Tanisha just mentioned, about this time you'll probably see them on the screen. We do have our Patreon where you can donate to the cause or become a free member and get all these backstage stuff because we got stuff to talk about this week. So if you're used to our wrestling episodes and you're like, hey, I got questions, we got full gear this week, who you picking, who you not picking, well, stop by our Patreon and you'll get an email notifying you when my picks come up because we all have them. And then we have our free Facebook squad where you can absolutely just catch up with us. We can send messages about the latest news we done heard, what's going to happen on Monday Night Raw, how we survived Dynamite or NXT's Gold Rush, because I have thoughts, so many, that you can find about tomorrow. And with that, I want to say we're not new to this.
We're so true to this. And this was Main Event Mamas.
The main event mamas bringing the heat. Talking life, love, and the wrestling beat. Step in the ring